Name of Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. Why is it important that the government returns to budget surplus?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, while it has been appropriate for the government to borrow significantly through a recession to protect New Zealanders from the sharp edges of that recession, we do not want to leave a large legacy of debt for future generations, and so we need to constrain our deficits and return to surplus. Secondly, we don't have many choices about where to spend to increase the welfare of our community until we have surpluses. The sooner we get there, the sooner we can choose more services or lower taxes or less debt.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, how will the budget on 19 May help the return to surplus?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the budget will continue the government's balanced and considered approach to managing the government's finances. It will further outline reprioritising
the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I thought that the use of irony was not allowed.
Order. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the budget will show further reprioritisation of existing spending from the kind of wasteful back office spending the Labor government specialised in to high priority public services.
Speaker.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, how will the budget help increase New Zealand's level of national savings?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, as the savings working group noted, one of the most important ways a government can lift national savings is to get its own finances in order, because the government represents around 1/3 of the economy. Therefore, the budget will outline the next steps in the government's program to reduce the need for extra borrowing and, over time, repaying debt. That will help to keep interest rates lower than they otherwise would be, and with interest rates currently at a 45-year low, that is leaving hundreds of dollars a month in the pockets of households across New Zealand. We'd like to continue that for as long as possible.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, Mr. Speaker, can the Minister confirm that under Labor, the Crown's 2008 net financial balance, including New Zealand super fund assets, was in credit by 7.2% of GDP, but today that we are back in net debt by around 13% of GDP under his government? And if so, can he advise the House when he will stop making excuses and take responsibility for the policy choices, including $23 billion of unaffordable tax cuts that have driven this country to the brink?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, no, I can't confirm that, but if the member was concerned about this government moving into deficit as it has, I can't understand why his party continues to promise to borrow very large amounts of extra debt over and above what has been the bare necessity that this government has followed.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What was the outlook for the government's finances when the National-led government took office in November 2008?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the pre-election update in October 2008 forecast budget deficits for 10 years. For 10 years. By the time of the December 2000 update, just a month or so after National was elected, the forecast had deteriorated further, and on the basis of the policies of the previous government, we were looking at permanent budget deficits, pushing Crown net debt to 50% of GDP and never falling. We've spent the last 2 years cleaning up this mess.
The Honourable John Boscawen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister of Finance, how can New Zealand ever hope to catch Australia by 2025 when the Labor government there has committed to a retirement age of 67, or does he consider Julia Gillard to be a right-wing extremist?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Julia Gillard is admirably conservative in some respects, for instance her education policy, which makes all of us here look fairly left-wing. But with respect to catching up with Australia, the government is pursuing a program of infrastructure investment, lower taxes, better regulation, improving educational standards and lifting the performance of the public sector, which we believe in time will help close the gap with Australia.
Question number 2, the Honourable Annette King.